And welcome to Medicine Lodge, Kansas, gateway to the Gypsum Hills. We will be your tour guides as we experience the Gyp Hills by traveling along the Gyp Hills Scenic Drive. This is an approximately 18-mile excursion off of US Highway 160 west of town, about 12 of which are dirt roads. Remember that inclement weather turns dirt roads into muddy roads. If your vehicle isn't equipped for the conditions, it would be wise to wait for a drier day.
This video may be paused and restarted as we reach specific locations along the route. Of course, we want you to be safe, so watch for livestock, wildlife, and other motorists. And please don't watch this while driving. Find a safe place to pull over and to resume the video along your journey as cellular service permits.
You're about to get an up-close look at one of the most beautiful regions in Kansas. But there won't be any convenience stores where we're going, so fill up your tank, empty your bladder, and buckle up.
You'll need to head out of town to the west on US Highway 160 for a little over 3 miles. At that point, look for the Scenic Drive road sign and turn left or south onto Gyp Hill Road.
We'll travel south on Gyp Hill Road 6 miles. In this stretch, you'll begin to see the rugged beauty of Gyp Hill's scenery. Rising red dirt mesas dotted with red cedar trees. The red buttes are created when exposed, iron-rich soil rusts. The name Gyp Hills comes from the underlying white gypsum deposits left by an inland sea nearly 260 million years ago.
Your next turn will be right onto Scenic Drive, which is where we leave the pavement for dirt roads.
Long ago, a tribe of Native Americans known as the Kiowa chose this part of North America for their own. It was all that a tribe could want: swiftly running streams, sweet native grasses, and abundant natural shelter in the form of timber, hills, bluffs, and canyons. Vast herds of buffalo, elk, deer, and antelope grazed in the valleys, and bear, turkey, and other animals and fowl inhabited the timber. Today, this land is used primarily for ranching, farming, and oil production, although hunting, birdwatching, hiking, biking, trail riding, backpacking, and spelunking activities are also popular.
In about a mile, find a safe place to pull over near Flower Pot Road. To your right or north, you will see a lone mesa known as Flower Pot Mound.
In 1871, there came a white buffalo hunter to the area named Orange Scott Cummins, who was deeply impressed by the wild beauty of the country he saw here. Born in Ohio, Cummins became known as the Pilgrim Bard. He wrote stories and poems about some of the tales told and retold around wilderness campfires. One of these was the tragic Legend of Flower Pot Mountain, in which the writer tells of a night spent on top of the butte where he was awakened by unearthly cries and saw a vision of wildly dancing natives and a white couple bound by stakes being roasted alive. Later in the night, he wrote, he was visited by the spirit of a woman who told him that what he saw actually happened here many years ago, and that it was she and her husband who were put to death. She instructed him to find a cedar tree with a dead limb pointing northward and to search for something in the ground below it. At daybreak, he did as the spirit instructed him, and upon lifting a large stone, found a metal box. In it was an ear of Indian corn, a handful of wheat, and a marriage certificate for Evan Day and Lenora Blackwood, who were married November 12, 1832, in New Orleans. There was also a roll of papers, yellow with age, the manuscripts of Lenora's diary. It gave a detailed account of her journey and settlement, along with her husband and a group of pioneers, and included their trouble with their native neighbors and the eventual death of each person in the group. It chronicled a period from 1849 to just a few hours before her death in 1854. Even today, when one stands on the Barber County prairies and gazes across the miles towards the strange, flat-topped butte, One could believe that the story happened and that it could have happened here.
Let's leave this fabled location now and travel on westward. After a jog in the road, continue on Scenic Drive to the west. Notice on both sides of the road in many places are barbed wire fences, whose function is to keep local ranchers' cattle within their property limits. The prairie here is a mixture of big bluestem, little bluestem, blue grama, and buffalo grasses.
You may notice many of the red cedar trees along the route are dead. This is a result of the Anderson Creek wildfire in 2016, which burned over 400,000 acres in Kansas and Oklahoma. At the time, it was the largest wildfire in recorded history in Kansas. The eastern red cedar tree, Kansas's only native evergreen tree, historically only survived on rock outcroppings or in canyons, bluffs, and other areas where fire did not reach. Native Americans understood the value of prescribed burning long before the white man. Fire was intentionally set by Native Americans for a variety of reasons, including the promotion of diversity of habitats for hunting, for pest management, and even for insect collection. With the increase of European land management practices, forests expanded and the red cedar escaped from sites where it had been contained. Today, the red cedar is regarded in contradictory ways. Many ranchers control their populations because they negatively affect the usefulness of the land for cattle grazing. Hunting enthusiasts, however, like the trees for their cover and feed for wildlife. According to the Kansas Natural Resources Conservation Service, the red cedar is an invasive species. In the absence of fire, eastern red cedar thrives and may eventually dominate the prairie vegetation, unless controlled by prescribed burning and/or removal. After a few more miles on this road, you will begin to see the rugged landscape give way a bit into rolling farmland. Crops of wheat are commonly grown here. You may notice stair-step-like formations in the fields. These are man-made terraces. Terracing is a farming practice that conserves both soil and water. The steps reduce both the amount and velocity of water moving across the soil surface, which greatly reduces soil erosion and conserves rainwater for the crops.
Make sure when you reach a T in the road that you make a right turn. In a short distance, you'll see what was once the Lockhart Schoolhouse on the left, where the road turns again to the west. This schoolhouse was built in 1887 and is where children from this area attended until it was closed in 1946. In about one more mile, the road dips into a creek bottom where you will see a picnic table. This area is known as Angel Park.
When you approach this fork in the road, you'll want to keep right on Lake City Road. You've likely noticed the pipe structures you've driven over a few times up to this point. These are called cattle guards or auto gates, and work much like gates that you don't have to open and close, as cattle will not normally cross them. This is open range country and one of the most scenic parts of our excursion. Open range indicates that you are traveling directly into a pasture that cows and calves call home, so it's not unusual for cattle to be on the road. Use caution, slow down, and stay in your vehicle. A simple toot of the horn is adequate to get them to move out of the way. You are now in the heart of the Gyp Hills. Couldn't this be the location of an epic western? Can't you just imagine a band of Kiowa warriors watching us over on that mesa? This would be a good time to pull over and soak in this enchanting landscape.
As we proceed north, we are driving right through the headquarters of the VT Ranch, a third-generation cattle ranch. You are traveling through private property, so please be respectful. In 2.5 miles, you will intersect with Highway 160 again, and the dirt road portion of our tour will conclude. At this point, you can head west toward Coldwater or east back to Medicine Lodge. More great scenery awaits you either direction you choose. Thanks so much for joining me to experience the Gyp Hills on this Scenic Drive excursion.